Guys, this is what I'm gonna say, guys. And about 5 minutes now from now, first Grand Rapids. now, GR has already done it now for one day, and now Kalamazoo, Michigan is now going to be starting. We'll start a curfew at about 5 minutes from now of this recording. We're currently on NBC 8 right now, with TV 8, NBC, our news station, which is based out of Grand Rapids. Within about 5 to 6 minutes now, the 5 to 7 minutes now, sorry, about 5 to 7 minutes now, the national we'll go to WTV at 7 p.m. to see what happens. I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of going to be surprised what happens. They issued a curfew today at noon. They issued the curfew today at noon. WNT News Channel 3, a CBS affiliate. I was watching the news there. They have issued a curfew starting today at 7 p.m. through 5 a.m. Now, the city of Grand Rapids, Michigan, has already issued it starting yesterday. Has issued that curfew yesterday. This morning at 2 a.m., we were on live on WWMT News Channel 3 and also on WTV8, NBC, about this weather. Recently, this video I found out has finally got uploaded to YouTube after being on over 12 hours ago. 3 hours ago is not true. It was on earlier than that. In about 4 to 3 minutes, the national NBC 8 will be on, and we'll see what goes on, because I'm thinking there's been a protest. We are waiting for this thing to happen, and then after it's all done with, I might do some who knows what. But right now, I'm kind of going to keep an eye on this when this story actually develops. We're standing by for the story to start, and then within 3 minutes, WT8 should be on. We're gonna move this now to the tray where I have the TV and the area where I play the games on this thing on. I have the tray over there, which you can't see my foot, or I should say my hand today, pointing at it, but we'll be doing it real soon. If you're wondering, no, I don't want to tell you what looks weird. Is the computer on top of me, or am I on top of the computer? That did not sound right. But, yeah, soon we'll be doing it. We're doing it real soon. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Oh. I wish it was. Why couldn't it be like DOJ, where you shoot a pop bomb and out of the AI run away, huh? Why can't it be like GTA 5? Why can't it be like the game? We have violence, you do your violence in the game like I do. That's what I do. Now, we will be starting soon, I think. Also, tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, which I'll be happy because I get some plans for tomorrow. I have plans for tomorrow, so, can't wait for this. I also got some videos I need to upload eventually, too. But we're going to stay here and wait. I wish right now I could do what I really want to do right now. I can't. Okay, about 2 minutes.
Before we leave you, we want you to know there's a new episode of Nightly News Kids Edition, and parents, you should be advised in this episode, we do deal with the George Floyd story, and you may want to watch.
Shut up about the George Floyd crap.
Child psychologists about the best ways to frame events for kids, as well as meet the young singer whose personal message.
Shut up.
Powerful note. New episode is streaming right now.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Nightly News for this evening.
It's boring.
Please take care of yourself.
Okay, NBC 8, WTV 8, NBC 8. Stop showing that crap. I don't want to see a cop car. Another person. So here comes the hell, guys. The hell will be starting real soon in about a couple seconds. Here we go.
Americans are demanding justice. Join me for a special discussion about race and policing. What's fueling the anguish of Black America, and how can we heal the divide? Can you hear us now? Tonight at 8 on NBC News Now and NBC.
Here we go now, guys. With TV 8.
After a night of violence, we are just seconds away from a curfew going into effect in Kalamazoo. Protesters are still on the streets. Our crews
get ready for the hell.
Show you what happens. The 7 on 8 starts in 1 minute.
In a couple seconds, here comes the hell, guys. So we're gonna keep an eye on this starting now, guys. I need to move this over here. I don't want you guys to see the commercials, so I don't get sued. I'm gonna get the table here set up so I can see what you guys are seeing.
Ignoring experts who
You want to know why I don't use a tablet and cell phone for this? It's because I can't.
and devastation to our economy. Donald Trump is failing America. Priorities, choice, actions, responsible content, sad.
At LMCU, we know your checking account is bigger than just checks.
So whatever I see, you guys see. So I'm gonna get the tablet set up here. Tablet's almost dying, so put it over here so I can do it.
3% Max checking pays almost $450 extra every year. That's 64 extra chew toys, 90 extra coffee dates, and 132 extra roses for that extra special someone. 3% Max checking, a little extra for life's little extras. Learn more at lmcu.org.
Shit, 28.
This is a breaking news alert.
Breaking news alert, guys.
Breaking right now at 7 o'clock, a curfew showdown about to play out in Kalamazoo. A lot of peaceful protesters now on city streets illegally. I'm Lindsay McComo. We do have team coverage tonight, monitoring a very active scene there. Newsdays Whitney Burney and Kyle Mitchell, both there with protesters, police, and National Guard members as this curfew crackdown unfolds. We're going to start with Kyle Mitchell right now. We know, Kyle, that you've been there for several hours now talking with protesters. What's the latest?
That's what we want!
Yeah, Lindsay, the assistant chief is out here speaking with protesters right now. Let's listen in.
That's what we want! So shut the fuck up! In order to move on! We gotta listen
Yeah,
to
police had just said a few minutes ago that this is now in violation of the curfew.
And I said it! I said it! Do not forget what we're here for! Do not forget what we're here for! We're here for justice! We're not here to argue! We're here to reason so we can move forward! As a community! As a country! As a people! And we got officers! Who don't give a fuck! So don't stop! Don't forget what we're here for!
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Community, we need to protest. A peaceful demonstration in a safe place. And that's what I'm asking us, community, to do. And let your word, let your voice, let your emotion be felt in a safe place.
Get the hell out of here.
I'm asking for the corners, okay? I'm asking you that. Because this is not a safe place.
We're not a safe place.
Sir. Listen. Safe place. These men and women you have in front of you, we are mothers, fathers, uncles.
You're assholes.
No different than you. We have a profession to do. And today as community, we want to hear your voice in a safe space. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
There's 3 guys.
Now,
CBS.
let me put my law enforcement lens on. We have a job to do. Our city has had some unpeaceful protests. And
You see the 3's doing this real quick.
Well, police agencies have been called in to assist the Kalamazoo Department
CBS
of Public
3.
Safety, and that includes the Michigan
Fox 13. Fox 17.
The study will also look at how eczema may play a role in symptoms.
NBC 15. ABC 15. ABC 13.
CBS honored George Floyd with this powerful 8-minute and 46-second blackout video.
whatever years today, we're not going to change that.
CBS 3. WMT.
Yes, we can. More collaboration than
We can fight for it.
8.
Waiting for justice. I would rather fight for it. I would rather give my life for justice. Peace is gone because the police do not respect justice.
Can I talk?
We can all.
CBS 3, guys. CBS 3.
We can all. We're not going to listen. I can't continue.
Okay, guys, we're NBC 8. Okay, guys, here comes the hell. Here comes the hell.
I'm asking you. I am asking you to set yourselves in a safe place. We have a police line that has been crossed. And what
Okay, guys, you're for help.
is that I have to
Stay on until further notice, guys. We are staying on until further notice.
This is not space. This is not a safe space. Okay.
Hey, we'll stay on the air until further notice on NBC 8.
This community. Listen.
This is a safe space. No, you're not going to tell
Oh,
these people that this
crap.
is not a safe space. This is a safe space. You are the ones with the guns burning.
I can't talk.
You have the pepper spray burning. Acknowledge that.
Well, that's our tools. That was our tools, sir. Yes. Those are our tools to mitigate situations quickly so that you're not hurt, I'm not hurt, community is not hurt. The things that you just talked about are intermediate weapons. You are exactly right. Those are intermediate weapons. And they're used, when used properly, can mitigate situations fast. Okay? Yes. Those are our weapons to use in situations. Yes. I can't answer across the country today.
You know what? If lives are so expendable,
They won't be here, bro.
too many lives are expendable, bro. You guys have to change today.
Listen.
No more fucking police deaths, my brother. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I do not want to hear it's not going to happen right now.
Okay.
Ernie, look at me. Look at me in the eye. Look at me in the eye. I do not want to hear it's not going to happen right now. I want to fight for fucking change.
We can do
You
that.
as a black man see too many of your brothers lifeless dead in the street.
Oh, crap.
Listen to me.
We're staying right now on NBC. We're just staying on NBC with you guys till further notice.
What are you doing to help this community?
Okay, guys. Looks like it's starting to unravel.
This is live TV, so I do want to point out and apologize for the strong language you are hearing. We are now beyond the 7 p.m. curfew within the city of Kalamazoo that was put in place earlier this afternoon by city officials, including the police department. You're looking right now at the assistant police chief there in Kalamazoo. This was in response, the curfew was in response to violence that broke out last night.
At 2 a.m.
A similar scene really that unfolded over the weekend in Grand Rapids for several hours. There were peaceful protesters in Kalamazoo, most of the time lying on the ground, having peaceful, silent prayer. And then this is what unfolded on your screen. Rioters damaged property there, storefronts. You just saw an ATM machine smashed as well. The cleanup there began.
ATMs are expensive.
That is when we heard from city officials making that move to deploy the National Guard there. That's what you're now also seeing on your screen, more of a bird's eye view in a sense of this scene unfolding right now in downtown as the assistant police chief does engage and speak with protesters there. He's trying to point out that this is not the spot they should be standing. Of course, this being in response to the curfew. We know Whitney Burney is there as well. Whitney, what are you seeing where you are?
Well, Lindsay, we're just on the other side of where Kyle Mitchell is right now. So we can kind of see a wider view of just how big this crowd is. But I want to actually point your attention the other way. Behind this National Guard truck is where police have stationed and kind of set up these barricades for what was called the Peace Zone earlier today. You can see
church.
Officers are already prepared.
Yeah, smashed up last night.
Right now, several of them standing in the middle of the street. We've also seen quite a few state police cars kind of pile up here that were not here when we first got here about 30 minutes ago, just to kind of gauge how the crowd was behaving here. I do want to also point your attention to some of the protesters. We have seen them bring in milk, which is often used when you've been tear gassed in order to soothe your eyes. So it seems that they're preparing to stand their ground at this point. One other thing that I don't think we've been able to mention just yet is about 20 minutes ago, the protest was actually on that opposite corner there at that Cornerstone building.
4975.
One of the protesters kind of rushed at
Where
the
goes
police
the hell?
officer. She was kind of airing her grievances, telling them how she feels. She's still in the middle of that crowd, airing
I
her
think we're going to
grievances.
split skater on from Kalamazoo County to see how bad it's going to get.
A line of white protesters stood in front of her.
Okay, I'm going to do
That's
that, guys.
often been a tactic used in these protests in order to protect people of color. So you can kind of see her still there airing her grievances. They are
Kalamazoo County Police
Scanner.
Scanner.
Kalamazoo Public Safety.
Kalamazoo
And
County
things have
Michigan
gotten
Police
a little
Scanner.
bit heated at this point as they're going back and forth, kind of calling for police to support them in some way. We have not seen officers move past the line outside of Vernon, Vernon Coakley there, who's talking to her currently. But again, it appears that police are kind of preparing for some sort of confrontation. He has told them a number of times that he supports their right to protest, their right to air their grievances, their right to say what they believe, but it has to be done in a safe manner, which is why they are at this point asking the crowd to disperse and move back to the corner. But we have not seen any movement from this crowd. It appears that they do plan to stay in their position at this point. Lindsay.
Now, Whitney, I am wondering, we're also in Muskegon over the weekend, and this scene that we're seeing play out right now with the assistant police chief in Kalamazoo, I believe it was a similar scene in Muskegon. It's not really what we saw in Grand Rapids yesterday. The chief did engage with protesters in Grand Rapids, but can you speak at all to how those interactions that you're now seeing play out both in Kalamazoo and Muskegon has either helped or had an impact at least on the scene and the protesters?
Yeah, I do want to draw your attention really quick. We've just seen the police officers bring out their bikes here. This is a tactic that we did see yesterday in Grand Rapids when that curfew was, when it began in Grand Rapids at 7 p.m. The officers started a line with their bikes and began pushing protesters back who were refusing to move. It appears that Kalamazoo is also doing the same thing. I do want to go ahead and touch on what you asked there about the difference in police response. Now in Muskegon, that was
that's kind of neat. That's pretty neat. There were little police lights on bicycles. That's kind of neat.
3 or 4 county sheriff's deputies there at that point. I saw a few high fives, handshakes, and that was pretty much it. But they were never asked to disperse. And I believe that might be because of the difference in how those situations change. Here in Kalamazoo, obviously, we are seeing that banter back and forth between the police officers and the protesters. Vernon Coakley kind of seems to be trying to calm protesters down and ask them, you know, to move back and cooperate with them. And then in Grand Rapids, it was a lot more similar to what we're seeing here in Kalamazoo. So we are still watching, like I just said, those officers, the state police just brought out their bikes, a tactic that we did see yesterday in Grand Rapids as they were starting to enforce that curfew. I do want to point your attention to the crowd. Once again, steadfast. They are not moving. Now their hands are up. They're chanting, as you can hear. I'm going to let you listen in. So it doesn't appear that the protesters are planning to back down anytime soon. They're staying here steady in their stance that they have the right to be here and, broadcast their message. So that is exactly what we're seeing, Lindsay.
I am wondering too, Whitney, from where you're standing and the protesters who you were standing by, are you able to or could you hear the assistant police chief, or was the crowd too big for his message to really carry through everyone right here with those who were towards the front of the line there?
In Michigan.
When we were a little bit closer, I could hear some of what he was saying, but honestly,
people are violating curfew in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
As far back, and the protesters are actually going pretty much into the middle of the intersection now, so I highly doubt that they can also hear exactly what the assistant chief was saying at that point. And frankly, if I can be honest, I'm not sure that everyone cares what he was saying. People are really kind of focused on, we want our message to be heard. We have the right to be here, and we're going to stay here. So that's kind of what we were hearing. What I did hear from him, he was mostly kind of trying to talk to the protesters at the front who were kind of leading the charge and airing those grievances, talking about the system that needs to change and what they would like to see police do right now, that change that they want to see right now in their communities. But other than that message really didn't carry across the rest of the crowd.
Kalamazoo, Michigan is violating curfew.
To Kyle Mitchell on the other side.
Police are right here.
Chief still there, Kyle, or is he since wrapped up and left?
It looks like, from my vantage point, I don't see him. He might have stepped aside.
Police are right here.
He said, he was trying to talk with the protesters. He said that this is not the
keep an eye on this.
He said that this is not a safe place for them to have this conversation. And we saw several dozen MSP troopers roll in on bicycles probably just a few minutes ago. There is definitely a growing police presence here, really by the minute.
Okay, they tell
the
you
troopers
something.
on bicycles.
They doesn't not watch his
gas
channel.
masks
That's
on.
this.
Earlier, they had said over the loudspeaker, if you don't disperse, they will deploy tear gas. At this point, the protesters are still standing in the middle of the intersection.
Okay, so you guys are moving, or you get peppered or pepper spray
And again,
with
those
TV8
protesters
Grand
are
Rapids, Michigan.
now
Is what you're watching right now, guys.
The 7 p.m. curfew there. I am wondering, Kyle, if the assistant chief did specify. I know he mentioned them not being in a safe spot. Certainly, they have the right now, given that the curfew is in place, to disperse them. Did he at all ask them to move elsewhere?
Here comes the hell, guys. If you're just joining us, we're on with TV8, 7 o'clock news, with this curfew that people are going against right now in the Kalamazoo area at this time. So we're staying out here until further notice, because it looks like it's going to get turned to hell.
And you do see now the gas masks worn by those officers with bikes. This was a similar tactic you saw play out in Grand Rapids last night. If you watched our coverage last night, let's get to Whitney Birdie now. It seems there's a bigger presence right now coming in.
Yeah, Lindsay, sorry, it's getting a little bit loud. The protesters have just started chanting. Just a moment ago, we brought your attention to the bike line that has just been formed, but we're also starting to see some of the state police starting to gear up. It appears that they're putting on riot gear back there. You can see some of the batons are coming out. And just a second ago, we also pointed your attention to some of the Kalamazoo police that are in the middle of the street, also in riot gear. But again, we have not heard that loudspeaker saying that the protesters needed to disperse at this point. We have heard from the Assistant Chief Vernon Coakley asking people to kind of back up or telling them that this is an unsafe gathering at this point. But again, we have not heard that loudspeaker just yet telling them that they have to leave now or that arrests are going to be starting. But from what we're seeing as far as officers gearing up, it appears that may be shortly on the way, and as well with the bike line.
What's going on, guys? We're not going off. You're joining us. You see what I'm seeing.
We're working to back that line up and get protesters to disperse. It seemed to work then, and we also saw them kind of circling around certain protesters.
Get rid of hell.
And
hell starting.
now we're seeing some squad cars coming in from Michigan State Police. They're kind of breaking up the line of protesters and going through that bike line right now. It also appears that there are quite a few more officers at this corner than when we first got here. They did have them kind of spread every block or so on both sides of the intersection, kind of gearing up for this to happen. So far, that's kind of what we're seeing on this end.
Winnie, are you getting the indication that the protesters will not leave until they are dispersed by that police presence?
Well, obviously, I can't speak for their intentions here, but it is pretty clear that they don't plan on leaving at this point. They have had that conversation, like I was saying, with the assistant chief, asking them to kind of disperse or to consider moving to the corner because this is not a safe gathering. But we haven't seen many protesters moving from this area. This crowd is pretty much the same size it has been since they kind of moved up and pursued speaking to police and confronting police in the middle of the intersection. There have been a handful of people who have walked back to that corner here at the intersection where you see that walk sign, but literally a handful. For the most part, we have seen protesters steadfast here, staying in the middle of the street, hands up, beginning to chant, and still kind of airing those grievances out to state police. We haven't seen any arrests occur at this point, so police are clearly not dispersing the crowd
NBC,
just yet.
sorry, West
It
Michigan.
appears that folks
For
are
over
not planning
70
on leaving their
years.
position, Lindsay.
And that is one difference compared to what we saw in Grand Rapids last night. It was shortly after 7 o'clock where we saw that police line move forward with those tactics, with the bikes, in order to disperse the crowd quickly. Things really, the entire area of downtown Grand Rapids yesterday was pretty much emptied out, aside from a handful of people remaining downtown within about 20 minutes of that 7 o'clock curfew going into effect. Of course, it's approaching 7:20 right now, so this is a very different scene in downtown Kalamazoo compared to yesterday. I am wondering if it's possible, of course I want you guys to both stay safe, Whitney and Kyle, but if we're able to try to interact with a protester, ask why they're there, and what they plan to do.
Yeah, of course, there are quite a few protesters out here. And like I said earlier, emotions are pretty high. People are really wanting the police to hear them out and listen to what they're saying. We're starting to see people passing out water. We've actually started to see on the other side of this street here, I'm on Park Street.
Right start.
On their knees, they're kneeling, which is yet another sign that they don't plan to leave. Excuse me, can you guys talk to me about why you want to be out here today? Well, these protesters here don't want to speak, but like we said, people are on the ground. They seem steadfast in what they are doing out here.
Riot.
And again, we're still kind of waiting to hear police disperse the crowd. Kyle, if you look over here, you can see that they're actually lining the other side of the intersection as well. You see the police are on the other side in that gear that we just saw them putting on just a few moments ago. So it appears that the protesters are actually seeing police on two sides of them now. At first it was just to the front of them, but now it's at the side here. And again, this is on Park Street here. Again, we have not seen police start making any arrests or anything of that nature like we saw in Grand Rapids right around 7 o'clock, but it appears that protesters are planning to kind of stay out.
I see where this problem.
All right, Whitney, thank you. And again, these protesters now violating the 7 p.m. curfew put into place earlier today by Kalamazoo officials in response to damage, destruction, rioting that played out overnight in the downtown area after hours of peaceful demonstration. A short time ago, if you missed the beginning of the 7 on 8, the assistant police chief of Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety engaged with the crowd and was trying to have a conversation with them, asking them to disperse, saying that they are not in a safe spot, that he hears them, that he understands that there is work to be done. But as he put it, he said it can't change in one day. He can't make a nationwide change in one day. And therefore, he was asking for these protesters to cooperate who are now in violation of the 7 p.m. curfew just put into place this afternoon in response to trying to prevent another situation that we saw play out overnight in the city of Kalamazoo. Unfortunately, businesses there now dealing with damage and destruction similar to what businesses suffered over the weekend in downtown Grand Rapids. Again, that situation also being separate from hours of peaceful protest. And in speaking with city leaders today in Grand Rapids, at least, they're really trying to reiterate that the violence, the rioters should not be conflated with and grouped in with the peaceful protesters who are asking people.
We're currently live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, guys. We're live in Kalamazoo,
destructive
Michigan.
To property. Now, as you see here, we're seeing more protesters taking a knee in the street. Let's get back to Kyle Mitchell with what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, Lindsay, just in the past few minutes, we've seen pretty much all the protesters now are getting on a knee. They are facing the Kalamazoo Public Safety SWAT. We also have Michigan State Police here on the other street. So they have SWAT teams at least on two sides of them right now. They are yelling at the SWAT team. And I've seen just really in the past few minutes, more officers have their gas masks on. So we have seen that occur, but really within the past 10 minutes or so,
media
have seemed to escalate as more officers come into the area. I do see the assistant chief still talking to a couple of the protesters that have been kind of the lead speakers. They are off in the distance, so the assistant chief still engaging. I see the city manager is down here as well, talking to people who are protesting. I'm seeing another couple dozen officers that have just arrived. And at this point,
this is not going to end well, guys.
The protesters have taken a position to kneel. They seem like they are going to, for the moment, stay in this position.
Lindsay.
All right, Kyle, thank you. So for those just joining us at home, this is the intersection of Michigan and Park. You're getting views from both sides of the street. This is an aerial view from our camera looking over that space right now. It gives you a better look at the crowd that is formed there. This is about now 25 minutes after that 7 p.m. curfew took effect in the city of Kalamazoo. This is a citywide curfew in response to violence that played out overnight. You saw images throughout the day of damage done to buildings in the downtown area, and protesters are now back. This was and continues to be a peaceful protest. However, they are in violation of that 7 p.m. curfew. So that's why you're seeing this police presence there. We saw bicycles brought in, which is a similar tactic that we saw in Grand Rapids yesterday to disperse the crowd. You see riot gear as well. You've got officers wearing gas masks, which is something that we saw in Grand Rapids last night as well. One big difference, though, is it is now 26 minutes past the curfew going into effect, and that police line has not moved as of yet. So we know the assistant police chief for Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety has been down there, continues to engage with protesters, and is asking them to please disperse. You can see him on your screen right now. I am wondering if we're in a position where we're able to listen in at all to what he's saying.
The curfew was set from 7 p.m. Shut the fuck up and let him talk. The curfew was set between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. We are now 28 minutes past that. Not only is that has been set, there's a police line that you're within. Also with that, the stay-at-home order is being violated as well.
Screw the governor.
Stay-at-home order is in effect till Monday. Okay? It's in effect until Monday. So, I am asking you, good people, good demonstrators, to leave this intersection. Leave this intersection. You have 30 seconds to begin leaving. You have 30 seconds to begin leaving. You have 30 seconds.
There's Ryan Hayworth.
Now, for those who are just joining us, the assistant police chief in Kalamazoo just gave a warning to protesters, reminding them that they are in violation of that 7 p.m. curfew. He's looking at his watch because he gave them a 30-second warning to leave the area. This has been pretty incredible to watch him engage with protesters.
It's
he was
also close to
pretty
media.
patient with them at the top of the hour when the curfew went into effect at 7 o'clock. That tone has now changed, however.
He is
telling them that
pissed.
They have 30 seconds to leave the area. He's now giving a countdown, 2 and 1.
Tear gas! Here comes the hell, guys. I'm glad of the media. Tear gas! Tear gas! Flashbang! Oh shit! It's hell, guys. It's hell right now in Kalamazoo, guys. This is live from WTVA, NBC.
Our camera there is moving to the side in order to still give you that perspective, but of course be as safe as possible. They did just deploy some sort of smoke in the air. It does not appear, though, that it would be tear gas, given that you didn't see a bunch of people run right away. We know that's very painful. Whitney, Can you tell at all what they just deployed?
We're not really sure. It looks like some sort of smoke agent. As you said, it was some sort of green smoke kind of wafting into the air, but obviously it didn't really phase protesters. Now, I do want to bring your attention to the fact that that is exactly what we saw in Grand Rapids during those riots on Saturdays. Police were throwing out some sort of smoking canister.
That's a warning smoke, guys. After that, it's when the big stuff starts firing.
Mr. Coakley giving everyone that warning. He counted down from 30 seconds, telling them they must leave this intersection. I have not seen a single person leave. So these protesters.
Here comes the hell, guys. What TV8? We're right on watching live. What TV8? What TV8? NBC.
As you can see, they're chanting.
I'll go to the camera son, guys, for you guys to hear.
And they don't plan on leaving, I don't think. So it looks like that tear gas may be what's coming next.
Captions on.
Still waiting to see that again. We are over 30 minutes from when that curfew was first.
Okay, guys, leave this on
put
until
in place.
there we go.
And, excuse me, not put in place, when it first went into effect. And now we're kind of just waiting to see what police are going to be doing. Again, we have officially heard that message that you must leave this intersection, but it doesn't appear that any of the protesters are adhering to that law. He also mentioned that they were violating the stay-at-home order by being here, but again, unfazed. Lindsay.
Whitney, thank you. And it does appear there is now a bigger separation, at least, between protesters and those officers that we see in riot gear. However, we know that they sent out a smoke agent. You can see the assistant chief is still in the background there behind that line that you see on your screen right now. He's still watching how this is unfolding. Again, he gave protesters a 30-second warning telling them that they are in violation of that 7 o'clock curfew.
2 minutes.
I am wondering, Kyle, if you're able to tell who the assistant chief is talking to. We're seeing him in the background of the shot that's up right now.
Hey, babies.
I'm not really able to tell who he's talking with at the moment. He stepped off to the side. I know he spoke a little while ago. He was saying that they have 30 seconds to leave. We saw some what appeared to be smoke deployed. It definitely did not appear to be tear gas. Nobody seemed to be too affected by that. It's gotten a little quiet right now. There's a little more talking. The assistant chief is speaking with members of SWAT. Protesters have become very silent.
I'm wondering, Kyle, if we're able to pan back to the protesters just to see, for those who may just be joining us here, if we're able to get a shot on the protesters so that people at home can see the amount of people still gathered now 33 minutes after that 7 o'clock curfew. This is a look overhead from our camera there, overlooking that area of Michigan and Park. As you can see, really the crowd has not changed since 7 o'clock. We know that there was some sort of smoke agent deployed. However, it really did not make any impact other than creating maybe a little bit wider of a separation between the beginning line of protesters and the officers there. Let's listen back and we see the assistant police chief back there.
Hey, baby boy. Something tells me something bad can happen. Just punch that asshole.
And we do apologize for the language you're hearing right now. This protester is asking for the police presence to take a knee with protesters.
No.
He's speaking with the assistant police chief, Coakley, in Kalamazoo there, asking that they kneel in solidarity with
I see 3, I see 8. That's it. I don't
we are
think I
now
have
34
13
minutes
there.
after the curfew went into place, of course.
We'll watch this real quick. We're going back to 8 in a minute.
Out of here with you. If that is not
There's 3.
then we're going to make arrests.
We're seeing 3 and 8 right now, guys. So this is 3. We're going back to 8.
We take that.
We're going back to 8, guys. So there's 3 and 8 right there, guys. I don't know if 17's there or not, but I see 3 and 8. There's 3 and there's 8. So get it out of there, guys. You guys are violating the laws.
I'm not trying to get people to follow.
I'm okay. And I will kneel.
You get out of my face before I punch your face. That's what I tell them to do.
If you kneel right now without the police, you kneel for nothing.
Shoot him. Please arrest him.
Manager standing alongside the assistant police chief there. Again, they're being asked to kneel
Oh, shit.
with protesters.
Shut up.
I bless you for that.
Shut up. And arrest that guy.
I'm trying to.
15. You see what ABC has, guys, if ABC's in on here.
Over by police happened when I was 15, when I got my job or got my permit. I actually did get
8, 17, 13's not doing it. How about Fox 17? Yep, there's Fox, guys. There's Fox 17. Fox 17. Oh, they're arresting him. They're arresting him. They just arrested this asshole. Right to Channel 8. Okay, right to Channel 8, guys. That was 17, guys. Fox 17.
We gotta stop this.
You guys stop being idiots. There's 3, 8, and 17 here, guys. No ABC. Here it is. 4. I'm curious. ABC 4. That's right. ABC 4. Okay. 8 owns ABC. Yeah, 8 owns NBC 4.
That man left. I'm done.
So we walk out with whoever wants to walk.
Who wants to walk out with us?
And then the rest, everyone that stays is going to be gassed. That's the way it is.
Gassing's going to start, guys. So they don't get the hell out of there and get gassed.
Protesters to walk out with him.
Ready? Okay. Someone's going to get gassed.
No one followed.
Okay, stay here.
Oh, he just ran away.
And I do want to point out this is a big contrast to what we saw in downtown Grand Rapids last night play out. Of course, once that curfew goes into effect, they do have the right to disperse the crowd. Whitney, I'm wondering if anyone is following the police chief. Right now we have a close-up on him, but what are you seeing with the crowd?
3. Okay, guys, we're going to be careful, guys. We have to keep an eye on this.
Of the nature of these
Okay.
live situations.
Nope, who's leaving? Okay. Let's check Fox 17 out real quick, guys. And we're back to Channel 8. Channel 8 looks like they're a little one doing a little good.
What? We've seen police officers.
No, there's Fox 17, guys. We're going back to Channel 8. Looks like we're going to have hell starting, so I'm going back to 8. I say, guys, we're staying on this stuff for notice.
If you stay, you're going to get gas, and we're now looking at the police officers holding those chemical agents.
Here comes the gas, guys.
Some sort of chemical at this point. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, because we are surrounded on our left side by state police and Kzoo police in front of us. So I'm not sure which direction they're planning on starting this.
6?
Starting to disperse the crowd.
6. Okay, guys, I think they're going to start doing it right now, guys.
A lot of people were shouting also at the same time, and it's not enough.
Okay, guys, we have hell coming. So get ready for hell, guys. The hell's going to start real soon. Oh, crap. They're going to shoot the tear gas any second now, guys. So we're going to stay on 8 until further notice.
Move to the corner, but like I said, pretty much the only person who walked up with Coakley there was our photog, Justin Wynn.
Okay, guys, looks like the gas is going to start now.
Wilson are
Gas.
still here
Gas time.
watching to see what is about to happen between protesters.
We're staying on
and
NBC 8, guys. With TV 8.
All right, Winnie, thank you. I am hoping you guys can get a little farther to the side, of course, just to try to stay as safe as possible. I'm wondering if Kyle Mitchell, if you're still with us, if you're at all able to tell if, while the assistant police chief asked people to follow him, if some from within the crowd took that opportunity to leave, but just in an opposite direction. Do you have any advantage on that?
To me, Lindsay, it looks like that everybody is still in place.
I would leave town.
I was not able to see anybody leave. The crowd appears to be about the same size.
Maybe Madison last time.
Yeah, we saw the protesters.
Okay, tear gas just get launched, guys.
Being deployed. Might have been a flash thing, I'm not sure.
Fire!
Yeah, I think could have been a flash thing. Oh.
Uh-oh! Here comes hell, guys. We're seeing this live.
Probably, yep. I think it's some sort of tear gas that seemed to have just moved the crowd back farther to the west on Michigan. There's still a couple people standing in front of it. Hearing the protesters say something about tear gas on the loudspeaker. Definitely kind of getting a sense that that is tear gas. I'm unfortunately not downwind from it. Appears to be blowing in the direction of the protesters.
It's
probably hard to see from our vantage point because of all the tear gas. We're gonna have to move back a little bit as the tear gas changes direction. Again, KDPS asked multiple times for the protesters to leave. The protesters said we cannot leave. Protesters wanted every officer to kneel, not just the chief. They wanted all the SWAT officers to kneel as well. And of course, that did not happen. Send it back to you, Lindsay.
Kyle, thank you. We're now seeing a better view. You just saw an overhead vantage point of that intersection there at Michigan and Park. The crowd definitely dispersed a bit, so it does appear that they did deploy tear gas. It was just about 40 minutes past that 7 o'clock curfew.
41 minutes past.
So the officers there, the police presence there, showing restraint with dispersing that crowd, giving them ample opportunity to leave the area after they became in violation of that 7 o'clock curfew that was put into place in response to the rioting and damage and destruction that unfortunately played out within city limits of Kalamazoo overnight. This did and was a peaceful demonstration. The assistant police chief engaging with protesters there. You can still see them just around the corner there. And you see now the line is advancing. This is an aerial view of them. It appears they're turning the corner there, and that seems to be where some of that group moved to after they deployed that tear gas. You can still hear them chanting, though. There's still plenty of people there who are adamant about staying. The assistant police chief did ask them to engage with him and the city manager and walk together, but leaving that area. Of course, he acknowledging when he first engaged with protesters, he said he had to put his law enforcement lens on for their safety, for the officers' safety. We know that the National Guard, state police, other agencies now among that group.
We're staying on
response to try to prevent, what we saw play out overnight, unfortunately, in the city of Kalamazoo. It does appear they're deploying something else right now. You do hear people, you see people running a bit.
There's the press right there, guys. The press station, sure. Box 17.
Now our camera is getting out of the way there as well to try to get to a safe spot. Again, this is an aerial view of what's going on, playing out right now in Kalamazoo. The big priority, the number one priority for the police presence there being to disperse that crowd, which is now in violation of the curfew that was put in place. That went into effect just about 45 minutes ago. You can still see there that officers are on bicycles. That is a tactic that we saw in downtown Grand Rapids last night, a way to kind of force people back with the bike, but then the bike also being used to catch up with protesters as they take off, and in some cases take them into custody, given that they are violating that curfew. I'm wondering if either of our crews are now in a spot to, we're trying to get in touch with our crews who remain on the ground there. One thing to point out, both the curfew in Grand Rapids as well as this curfew in Kalamazoo did exempt media in order to allow them to show what's happening. Of course, we do need to document what's going on, the curfew acknowledging we also have a job to do with that exemption. Whitney, I'm wondering what spot you're in now and what you're seeing.
We've actually come back to the corner of Michigan and Park here where they first deployed that gas. We're just now seeing that those chemical agents have stopped billowing into the air, and we're now noticing that the police officers have moved their bike line. You can see them. There are two cars that kind of came into this intersection. I didn't see them here before. I'm not sure if they are here on purpose or not, but you can see state police are trying to move them out of the way. As you can see, all those protesters have dispersed. I believe a lot of them have gone down Park Street here, but we can't even see them in our vantage point anymore. We kind of just tucked over to the side to kind of catch our breaths and wipe our eyes out. But again, police have completely taken control of this intersection here, and that bike line has advanced from one side of the intersection to the other side of the intersection. And you can still see in the distance there are police officers who are advancing towards those protesters, still trying to get them to leave and disperse this area. They are technically outside of the peace zone, I believe, at this point. But again, Copley was trying to get all the protesters to leave, to walk out with him, and no one followed him. I believe there was one protester who was kind of
here comes the bad part.
There eventually, but again, police ended up.
We might have some different things right now, guys, but we are staying on for further notice.
In this intersection, we're now watching the state police get on their bikes. It looks like they're advancing to a new area. I'm not really sure where they're going, but we're following them just to see if they are pushing the protesters from a new location that they've gotten. But that's pretty much what we're seeing here at this intersection.
There's a delay, guys.
Again,
Start the delay.
Completely clear. All we see now is water bottles and kind of trash left behind, but all the protesters have completely left this area, Lindsay.
All right, Whitney, thank you. And it's possible they're now heading to an area where protesters remain. That's where Kyle Mitchell is right now. Kyle, where are you at now? I believe we're looking right now at your vantage point.
We are kind of behind the Methodist Church. SWAT has pushed the crowd back. Seems to be actually a little bit smaller now after that tear gas was deployed multiple times. I do see a few people kind of walking away.
I don't believe.
Crowd is still moving.
I'm not sure.
Police just keep walking.
Sanctuary.
They have not
Sanctuary. You can't do it.
Deployed, it seems, since the other street that we're on. You can see people washing out the tear gas out of their eyes. It's a lot of vulgar language. We do apologize for that being exchanged. It's pretty tense. SWAT is continuing to walk. It looks like people are kind of pausing. Some people are continuing to walk. The crowd much smaller.
Kyle, are you in a parking lot? This looks like a parking lot.
The group is staying here. Yeah, this is the parking lot to the United Methodist Church, which is located on Bronson Park. So this is like the last parking lot of the United Methodist Church. Now I'm seeing Michigan State Police coming in as backup with shields as well. They are coming in to support them as well. Someone just yelled to split up the group left and right. So we'll see what the protesters do here. I do see some of the, we hear something now. Hear something now. I don't know what that was. Can't see it from our vantage point.
Now, to reiterate for anyone who may just be joining us, this is in response to that 7 p.m. curfew this police presence that you're seeing play out in Kalamazoo is to disperse peaceful protesters who have been in the downtown area for hours now. However, they're now in violation of that 7 o'clock curfew. A short time ago, we did see tear gas deployed near the intersection of Michigan and Park, which sent a lot of the protesters
there's a 15-second
in
delay,
another
guys.
direction. You're watching now that police line continue to advance towards the group that does
I had a
remain
15-second
there.
delay, guys.
I'm wondering if it's possible. I'm not sure if this is Kyle or if this is Whitney, but if we can get an update on the direction they're moving, at least, and if they're following Whitney, I believe.
Okay, guys, there's a 3-second delay, guys.
The
I
group?
fixed it. I have a 3-second delay now, guys. So it's good enough.
Yeah, so we're leaving the intersection of Academy and Park here in Kalamazoo, and we're kind of just following behind these state police officers, and they are, in fact, kind of chasing off the group. They've been advancing their police line for a few blocks now. We're kind of behind them. At this point, you can see the protesters off in the distance there. I'm not sure where exactly they're trying to get them to go, or if they're just going to continue confronting them or continue coming face to face with them until they leave. We're now seeing protesters kind of take off running. Let me just get behind my photog here, so I'm not sure where they're going or what's going on. I don't know if our viewers could hear, but it sounded like several flashbangs went off just a few minutes ago, but neither I or Kyle Mitchell could really see where it was coming from. If you take a look now into the street, you can see people are on the other side of the parking lot kind of dispersing and running off, but the police line is still advancing. They're kind of just waiting for traffic to pass so they can continue pushing that line down.
Okay, looks like hell's now.
Squad cars over there, so again,
Sorry
I'm
to
not
call
sure
the
where
guys,
exactly they're dispersing the crowd to, but we do
CBS
see
3.
Things seem to be dispersed now.
CBS 3.
While we were talking to that young man, I'm not sure where.
Box 17.
Okay, there you go.
Box 17.
Either taking these folks into custody or make something happen. This is quite a
With
mess here
TV8.
right now, guys. That's what we're looking at. I'll send it back to you.
8.
We'll keep moving with this crowd.
Oh! We're going to with TV8.
Right now, Kyle, we saw the officers kind of take off after protesters once they started running.
WXMI
Is this the only person that
17.
they caught up to?
Agency that we've seen out here next to KDPS.
WWMT 3.
Many of them gathered right here by the orange block signs.
We have seen tear gas deployed in downtown
What
Kalamazoo.
TVA?
We've also seen at least one arrest thus far.
What's with 3?
And we're trying to get a steady shot here.
6. Maybe like 8, guys.
About 40 minutes after that began, we saw the first round of enforcement, if you will.
WZZM.
Tear gas that was deployed by the officers there. Before that, multiple attempts to.
Action step. It helps a lot.
WXMI.
From 1 minute, and gave him time to leave. That was at 7:30. We're now almost an hour past that, so we're going to wrap up our coverage right now. We will have much more. Of course, if something urgent more pops in, we will interrupt.
8.
Programming. But until then, we'll see you back here on Fox 17 News at 10:00.
Okay, those are Fox 17. Stop doing it. Yes,
The officers are
8's gonna
telling
keep
this
it on.
person who they've taken into custody that he's in violation of the curfew that has been in place for almost an hour now. It's 53 minutes after this first went into effect, and really for the first 40 minutes or so, we did not see much movement from that police presence. We saw the
guys, stay on
assistant
here.
police
Let's
chief
wrap up.
of KDPS, Vernon Coakley, doing his best to try to mitigate the situation, asking protesters and understanding protesters, saying that he hears them, he feels for them and agrees with them, but that he had to put his law enforcement lens on in order to make sure that this ended in a way that was safe for everyone involved. Let's get back to Whitney Burney. Where are you at now, Whitney?
Okay. Hey, Lindsay, we are at the intersection that is Academy and West Ridge. We had just followed the Kalamazoo police officers and state police who were advancing their line toward protesters and kind of chasing them off. We're actually walking back towards Michigan and Park at this point, it looks like. And the officers here are kind of just staying in the intersection, kind of protecting that peace zone that we were speaking about earlier. Again, it looked like most of the protesters had kind of scurried off. We don't really know where they are at this point. It looked like they had kind of been able to push them out of the area that they were. Once again, that first intersection that we were in is completely clear, and now the intersections that they were trying to occupy after that are also clear. So at this point, it kind of looks like everything is under control. People are now being forced to abide by that curfew.
All right, News 8's Whitney Burney, thank you. We also want to thank News 8's Kyle Mitchell, as well as their photographers, Justin Wynn and Kyle Wilson, for showing us how this all played out in Kalamazoo now. This, again, in response to that 7 o'clock curfew going into place, in response to destruction that played out overnight yesterday. The city and city officials approving this curfew going into effect tonight until 5 in the morning tomorrow. It also brought in the National Guard and additional resources in order for them to be able to respond to another protest. The protesters reiterating that they were there peacefully demonstrating, which is what we saw last night prior to the damage that was done. Protesters who organized that event asking to not be compared to those who decided to riot and be destructive. So what you've been watching here is how the police present responded to this. They've now since cleared out that crowd. Of course, if anything else develops in downtown Kalamazoo or anywhere else, we will bring that to you on the air. You can also catch the very latest at woodtv.com. That does it here for us on the 7 on 8. Have a great night.
Star is going to
We're done, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We're done.